From premise to published week 14. I don't know what I'm doing there. I want to make the intro slightly different every time, and that's what happened. So here I was thinking I was about to be super busy for the next few months, probably the busiest I've been in a long time, and I've been pretty busy. But as it turns out, I might have a lot more free time on my hands than I thought.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff.
I won't say too much. I'm recording this on a Saturday and I'm still in the process of figuring out what to do, but it's given me an idea for the topic of this video. So recently I've been thinking about my career as a writer, and I thought it might be good to talk about that, what a writing career looks like in the modern era, especially with AI changing the landscape. Because if you are a writer, there's a couple of different paths you can take. Like you can take the professional writer path where you're turning it into a career, being paid to write stuff for other people. And then there's the other option, and there's downsides to that, there's upsides to that. Then the other option is you work a completely different job and you do the writing on the side. Usually you'd be writing your own stuff, novels, whatever it is you want to publish. Once again, upsides to that, downsides to that. So this is going to be a bit of a long one. I think that might be the first time I've admitted that. I usually think I can knock it out pretty quick, and I don't have much to say on that topic, but I think I have quite a bit to say on this topic, so let's get into it. So when I decided to study creative writing at uni, I had no plans to be a professional writer. I just wanted to learn how to write books. But then I finished my degree and I thought, oh, let's give it a go and just see what happens. I expected it to go nowhere. When I first left uni, I got offered a job, or I applied for a job and got the job. Technically, I didn't take it, as a janitor at a plant nursery. So I would have been cleaning, that sort of stuff, or the janitorial duties. And to me, that seemed like a good job for a writer. It's like, all right, I'll do this physical job. It'll be quite menial, monotonous. It'll give me time to think, plan my stories, plan what I want to write. I won't have screen fatigue. I'll be able to get home, sit down, write my stories. But at the same time, I was sort of going through that recruitment process. I found a platform called Copify where you have to get approved. You basically have to pass the test, pass the approval process. But once you're on there, you can do like what I'd consider low level copywriting for different businesses that have signed up to the website. I'm not sure exactly how it works on the back end. So you do get paid for this, but you don't get paid well. But a lot of the people like me came onto that website, no experience. In my case, I wasn't trying to make money. I was just trying to get experience. And I think if you're just starting your writing career, as much as it kind of sucks, you may need to take those less lucrative, maybe even difficult jobs in the start just to get that experience. But I mean, I'd been a broke uni student for probably a year and a half, the second half of my degree. I was working for the first year and a half, but then COVID hit and it was really hard to find work. You almost needed to turn looking for work into a full-time job if you wanted to land anything. So for the last half of my degree, I wasn't working at all. My wife was doing her hairdressing apprenticeship, so she was on apprenticeship wages. So we were living pretty tight. So even the small amount of money I made from these low-level copywriting jobs, I felt rich. So here's a piece of advice, and I think this is important. What I did do with that is set a time limit. I said, I'm going to do this for a month. After that month, I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to get stuck doing these low-level copywriting jobs for the rest of my life. Another piece of advice. Like I said, I wasn't trying to make money off these jobs. So I was taking extra time with the work I was doing, like a lot more time than I think you'd be expected to take in such a low paying gig. Like I don't think I wouldn't have even been making minimum wage. But at the end of that, after all the jobs I did, I had a 5-star rating on that platform. That's 5 out of 5, by the way, which I don't think I used to land any clients after that. I don't think I ever mentioned it, but it could have been a useful tool for landing that next client. You know, you can prove it. Here's my profile. I have a 5-star rating on this platform, and it's proof of quality in a way. So my point is, early in your career, even if you're doing a low paid job or just an unenjoyable job, it's still worthwhile doing a quality job because it will get better from there. And you can use that quality or that proof of quality as a launching pad to get those better jobs and those better clients. So after that, I had no idea what I was going to do next. I built a website. Um, I should mention that as well. The website ended up being really important. You may think, oh, maybe you don't need a website straight away, but once you get to the point where people are looking into you, potentially considering hiring you, a well done website is a great tool for selling yourself. Like, especially if you're looking at getting into copywriting or anything like that. Like anyone who's thinking of hiring you, they go to your website. If they feel sold by what you've written on your website, like they're considering hiring you, they get to that point, then it sort of reassures them that you can probably sell to their clients or customers, whatever it is, whatever the job is. I know a lot of people say you don't need a website these days, but I disagree. It was very important for me. And you can make something good enough for relatively low cost. So once you start looking for writing jobs and clients, it can help to draw on past experiences from other jobs or other skill sets you have. I have a background in tech support. I worked for Apple for many years in a tech support role, and I never thought I'd be drawing on those skills again. But turns out there are a lot of companies, a lot of websites that write tech articles. So I explored that path and ended up getting a job writing for a pretty big website. And this was sort of the catalyst for everything else. I think you go through a training process with this particular company to make sure, you're up to their standards, understand their style and what they expect. And during that training process, we wrote 3 articles, I think it was, and they got published. And on that particular website and a lot of others as well, there's a lot of visibility. So, another important point, if you are writing something for a website like this, make sure you are getting credited for the writing. Make sure there's some way other clients can potentially contact you, because that visibility is another great selling tool. So, based on, I don't know if it was one of those 3 articles, a cybersecurity company reached out to me and wanted me to write SEO articles. Like at this point, I was starting to make like a marketing plan how I was going to get more clients who I'd reach out to. And then it was a bit of a shock when people started reaching out to me. It's like, do I even need to execute this marketing plan anymore? So the visibility, and I guess there was a certain amount of quality that made this person reach out to me as well. So they reached out, I took that job, and the pay was a lot more than I was getting from those previous jobs. As a formerly broke uni student, it was mind blowing. So yeah, it was a bit of a snowball effect from there to the point where other companies and clients were reaching out, and eventually I had a full-time workload, consistent work with 5 different clients. And I got to the point where I could turn down work as well. So this was an important point for me. At this time, once again, I wasn't thinking about the money. I turned down some clients who were offering pretty good money. One, because I was really happy with the clients I already had, and I didn't want to sort of have to drop any of them or have to pull back or sort of neglect them in any way. There was some as well where they would reach out and the things they were asking me to do, I didn't agree with. There was one company that wanted me to write an article, yeah, pretty normal, and then write fake comments from fake users to put under the article with fake answers. As I start, I don't want to do that. I've seen jobs for writing fake reviews as well for certain websites. There's a lot of mischief going on out there. So one client who didn't reach out to me, I actually reached out to them, was a publishing company, the publishing company I currently work for. And I think I was only a few months into my writing career at that point, so I didn't expect to get this job. Like writing, ghostwriting and editing other people's books is, as far as I'm concerned, a dream job for any writer. So I applied for that job on a whim, expecting to just get like some interview experience out of it, because like at that point, I hadn't gone through a rigorous recruitment process in years. But I ended up getting that gig and took them on as a client. So they were one of the 5 I mentioned before. And then over time, I went part time with them, full time, and that's where I am now. So there are 2 main points to that long winded story. One is I wrote my last novel, Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons, in 2021. I didn't publish it until 2024, I think it was. I sat on it for that long. During that time, I've done no other writing. I guess that's partly why this series exists. Until the end of last year when I tried to squeeze out a novel and it didn't quite work. You know, I'm not even going to mention my word count again on this video because once again, it has not changed. But I guess that's the warning. If you are a writer, if you want to write books, taking on a full-time writing workload where you're writing other people's stuff is a huge productivity killer. Even if work doesn't take up all your time and you do actually have time to write, the screen fatigue is almost crippling. At least it is for me. I know that's not everyone, but yeah, I've obviously struggled to do any extra screen time at the end of the work week. The other point I want to make is if you are starting a writing career where you're going to be taking on clients, taking on work, doing jobs for other people, it's very important to be clear about what you're trying to achieve. In my case, it wasn't about money, which gave me the freedom to turn down jobs and sort of curate the client list that I wanted of clients I wanted to work with. And I had a couple on that list that were great clients to work for, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the work that much. It was the writing SEO articles. But like I said, the clients were great and they paid really well. So the money that was coming in from those clients allowed me to still pay the bills while taking these sort of lower paid jobs. So yeah, sometimes it helps to find that balance. I mean, you sort of need to. It can't all just be fun, fun, fun. But if money is your main motivator, then by all means, take the high paying clients only, do the unethical things, write fake reviews, go crazy with it. Now, on the flip side, I was my most productive when I was at uni and I was working a physical job. I mean, over the course of my uni degree, I wrote, I think it was 6 fiction manuscripts. No, maybe it was five fiction manuscripts on the side. That seems wild to me now. But for the first year of uni, this is what the job was. I worked in a supermarket. I was basically in the fresh produce section. I was basically stacking apples. That's all the job really is. And I'd just have time to think and sort of plan what I wanted to write. And then when I got home, I'd sit down and I'd have these scenes already pre-written in my head and just knock them out. And I wrote so quick at that time. But it's like when you're doing a job where you actually have to think, you can't have these like daydream situations. You can't do this head writing. So it really comes down to what you want to achieve. If you just want to write your own books, it can be beneficial to get a monotonous job. Like Brandon Sanderson, I'm pretty sure he said he used to have a job as maybe like a night manager at a hotel, and there wouldn't be much to do. He'd just be sitting at the reception desk, I guess. He just had to be there on duty and he'd just sit there and write, write, write. Now, I'm not a night person, I couldn't do that, but in my experience, if you want to be productive as a writer, writing their own stuff, novels, whatever it is you want to publish, physical jobs, and I'm not talking back-breaking labor, that's too extreme, but physical, dare I say, monotonous jobs are ideal. So I think what would have worked better for me would have been to do what I did, but not as much. Like it's the full-time workload more than the work itself that was really crushing me. I mean, is still crushing me. And it's no secret that I don't want to be working this much. The people I work for know that I plan to drop a day at some point. But I think most people in the Western world at this stage are in the situation where cost of living far outpaced wages. So that dream of sort of getting ahead so you can work less or whatever it is, spend more time with family, write, whatever your motivation is, it just keeps getting further and further away. So there's a trap to look out for if you do start a freelance writing career and you're thinking about maybe taking up employment with one of those clients. When you're freelancing, you're essentially running your own business and you can set your own prices. I mean, they need to be reasonable. It needs to be what people are willing to pay, but you're in a more versatile situation and you're not as likely to get stuck in that wage stagnation situation. And for the record, this isn't a dig at the company I work for. This isn't a dig at my particular industry. This is happening or has happened in every industry since this cost of living crisis, I think. Are they still calling it that? Since it kicked off post-COVID. It's like so many industries are still paying what's essentially pre-COVID wages in a post-COVID world when cost of living has doubled for a lot of people. And then they wonder why everyone's burnt out and demotivated. Just like look around. All right, I told you this was going to be a long one. I might just briefly touch on AI because I know that's what a lot of writers and maybe people who are considering starting writing career might be worried about. And you're right to be worried in a way. A lot of companies are really leaning into the whole AI thing. But I mean, if you read the mood out there, the majority of consumers, I think they're starting to get a little bit fed up with seeing AI generated content everywhere. There's always going to be a group of people who just don't care. But I think there is and there will continue to be a big market for content created by actual humans. Is this the part where someone accuses me of being AI generated again? And look, even AI generated content does need to be checked by a human. At least that's what should be happening. So I've heard there's a big market for AI editors now, editing AI content. That might be a part of the new future wave of writing gigs. And I can say from within the industry, plenty of people still want their books ghostwritten by an actual human. There are some that want the AI, they don't care. But those books probably suck, minus the probably. Anyway, it looks like my work situation might be about to change. Not necessarily for the better, but you know how it goes with these things, maybe ultimately for the best. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway and hate watch my content. That's always fun.